Good evening, everyone. You are welcome to our monthly webinar. And for those that are at the lobby, we advise you to please leave the meeting and rejoin again so that we'll be able to have a fuller house or a full house. This evening, we'll be having a continuation of what we did in December. And I want to hand over to the anchor for today in person of Miss Olukemi Jacobs. Miss Olukemi Jacobs, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Thank you, please, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have every one of us here tonight, this evening. And welcome to the webinar, the third one of its kind. And this evening, we'll be looking at optimizing artificial intelligence responses with prompt engineering. And the speaker is King David Maduekwe. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but please pardon me if I didn't. King David Maduekwe is a software engineering student at McPherson University. He's an ambitious software engineering student at McPherson with a strong passion for web development, artificial intelligence, and network analysis. He loves creating intuitive, user-friendly web experiences, and is keen on exploring new technologies. When he's not coding, he's diving into AI trends or working on entrepreneurial ventures. Skilled in front-end web development, he focuses on building clean, functional interfaces that users love. His growing interest in AI and network systems drives him to apply his technical knowledge and creative problem-solving skills to contribute to innovative and impactful projects. His key skills are front-end web development, software engineering principles, network analysis and optimization, artificial intelligence, and technical content and writing and communication. And so please, let's all welcome our speaker this evening, King David Maduekwe. Please, King David Maduekwe, I'll be handing over to you. All attendees, please let's feel free to ask our questions when it's time for questions. Let's feel free to ask him whatever we want to know about optimizing artificial intelligence. Please, King David, over to you, please. Thank you. King David.
Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Can everyone please hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you. Can you please go ahead, sir?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
All right, I'm having a bit of network issue, so okay, I think I'll count. All right, so thank you, Mr. Lukemi, for welcoming me. Thank you, Dr. Adapo. I'm really grateful, and I feel someone who feels like knowledge should be shared, and I'm happy there are even more people than that are expected to be here, and I'm really grateful. So we'll be talking about optimizing artificial intelligence responses with prompt engineering. So we have table of contents, just 6 agenda on the table of contents. That's the next slide. 6 agenda on the table of contents. First, to have the overview of AI. Then, secondly, we have understanding prompt engineering. would speak on prompt engineering, get to know, all right, what exactly is prompt engineering. Then we'll also talk about key techniques in prompt engineering. Then we'll talk about application of these techniques. Then we'll talk about the Horizon
Your course is
framework.
what?
Then,
Your course is what?
then we'll also we'll also have a question and answer session. So straight to it now, what is AI? That's the next slide. What's AI? So AI is something every one of us is familiar with. Each and every one of us will be familiar with AI right now. So artificial intelligence is a set of technologies that enable computers to perform a variety of advanced functions, including the ability to see, understand, translate spoken and written language, analyze data, make recommendations, and so on. So basically, we all have heard about AI consistently. We keep on hearing about AI, AI, AI. So the main goal of AI is to human intelligence. So whatever a human can do, AI aims to simulate that and do it probably better and faster. So that's basically AI. So then we'll be going into generative AI because that's mostly AI we're talking about today in prompt engineering. So what is generative AI? That's the next slide. So generative AI is a branch of artificial intelligence focused on creating new and original content such as text, images, audio, or video that closely resemble human accounts. So remember I said AI.
King David, we can't hear you. Are you there with us? King David, it appears we can't hear you.
Can everyone still hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. Thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. All right. So I was talking about generative AI. And I was saying it's trained on a very large data set. It works by learning patterns and structures. So ChatGPT is one of generative AI popular ones that we know about. So business like we have examples and applications of generative AI. Sorry, please the next slide. Right. So we have examples and applications of generative AI. So we have text generation. So basically, I said generative AI is focused on creating new and original content. So for that, we have text generation, ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the most popular generative AI for text generation. Then we also have image creation. So we have DALL-E. OpenAI created DALL-E. OpenAI, we also don't know created ChatGPT. So image creation is an example of generative AI. Then we have music composition. So we know AI wants to simulate human intelligence, it wants to simulate what humans can do. So it's also into music composition. It wants to simulate music, it wants to write music. So these are examples of generative AI. And we have video synthesis. This is basically deep fakes. So sometimes you come across some videos on the internet and then we're like, is this real? Is this not real? Then we come about to find out that they are deep fakes. They are images that have been created with AI. So these are basically deep fakes. Then we have product design and simulation. This is another example of generative AI. So key technologies in generative AI, we have generative adversarial networks, GANs. We have variational autoencoders, VAEs, and we have transformer-based models. So this is one of the technologies that at least will be a bit familiar with. That's GPT. So now please the next slide. So the next slide is yes. So the next slide is just for us to understand how important ChatGPT has become, how important AI has become, how important it is for us to take AI serious. AI is no longer something that we can say, oh, I want to use. AI is not something that we can say I won't be involved with. It's not something that we'll say, no, I would do it myself. I would, ChatGPT, AI has become widely adopted over different industries, over different sectors. So this graph shows ChatGPT adoption statistics over time. So ChatGPT was openly launched in November 2022, and the first month it was released, sorry, the first 5 months from November to January 2023, they had over 100 million monthly users the first 5 months. So after the first 5 months, from January to June, we saw a decline in usage. That was basically the adrenaline drop. It's called an adrenaline drop. When it was released, a lot of people were excited. A lot of people wanted to test it out. So that's why there was a dip between January to June. Then from June, it stabilized. We can see from June to November, we had 100 monthly users. From November to August 2024, 200 monthly users. Then to December 2024, we had over 300 million monthly users of ChatGPT. And this is just ChatGPT. Imagine the users on Gemini. Imagine the users on DeepSeek. Imagine the users on different generative AI platforms. So ChatGPT, Bard, Gemini, all of them have become widely adopted right now. So AI is not something we can sleep on anymore. So the next slide. The next slide shows how companies are adopting artificial intelligence. It shows different countries, different companies in countries, and whether they have adopted AI. The red signifies companies that have not started using. Yellow and green signifies companies that are still exploring using AI in their business operations. We have blue for companies that have actively deployed AI. Then we have gray for not sure in the statistics. So we can see blue is one of that's company that actively deployed AI. Most companies have started deploying AI in developed countries. We have Australia, we have Canada, we have China, we have France, we have Germany, we have India. We can see that every developed country is inculcating AI into their operation. The companies who the companies who have not started using AI are minimal. We can see 19% in France. We can see 40% in China. We can see 12% in Canada. So imagine you're working in a company where AI is already being used in its operation and you do not know how to use AI. So that's why being able to effectively use AI is very important. Being able to effectively craft prompts is very important now. So next slide, we'll be going into what is prompt engineering proper. What is prompt engineering? The next slide. So prompt engineering is the process of structuring an instruction that can be interpreted and understood by a generative AI model. So prompt engineering is simply how to talk AI in order to get best responses. So just the same way we understand how to, let's say, talk to our friends or talk to our parents or talk to people we know to get their best responses. That is the same way it is in prompt engineering. In prompt engineering, we're basically learning how to talk to AI in a way we will get the best response, in a way we know we will get the most effective response. So what is a prompt? A prompt is a natural language set describing the task an AI should perform. So a prompt can be in the form of text, prompt can be in the form of question, it can be in the form of information, it can be in the form of coding. But as far as it communicates to AI, what response you are looking for is a prompt. If I say, what is photosynthesis? It is a prompt. If I go into ChatGPT and I type, what is AI? That is a prompt. So any text, question, information that will tell AI or communicate to AI what response I'm looking for is a prompt. So next slide, we'll be talking about the importance of prompt engineering. So why is prompt engineering so important? Why are we here discussing about prompt engineering on a Tuesday evening? Why are we talking about prompt engineering? So prompt engineering helps for improved accuracy. Prompt engineering helps AI outputs to be more accurate. So prompt engineering allows for AI outputs to be more accurate and relevant. So if we effectively craft our prompts properly, we would have an improved, accurate and relevant response. Then also we have adapt AI for specific use cases. So if we effectively use AI, and we effectively our prompts, effectively tell AI what to do, we can use it for specific use cases. We can tailor our prompts to guide AI in performing different tasks. Then next we have error minimization. So we know even if you open ChatGPT now, you see ChatGPT can make mistake. Or you open Gemini, you see Gemini can make mistake because they are still being trained. They are still being trained. AI is still learning. AI is still learning in all of this. So in error minimization, prompt engineering helps to lower error minimization. It helps to reduce irrelevant, incorrect, or biased outputs when we carefully craft our prompt. So now I'm going to key techniques in prompt engineering. Key techniques in prompt engineering. So first up, we have be specific and clear. Be specific and clear. So in prompt engineering, you have to be specific and clear. When you're crafting a prompt, you have to be very specific. You have to be very clear. You do not have to, how will I say it, beat around the bush. That's a valid expression. You do not have to beat around the bush. You have to be very, very specific. If you want accurate output, you have to be very specific. So formulate your prompt with clear instructions, avoid ambiguity to minimize irrelevant or inaccurate output. I really wish I could share my screen right now. I would have opened Chat GPT right now. So we will try out all these examples because I really wanted us to try out all these examples. So we have an example. Instead of write about AI, so if you go into Chat GPT and write about AI, it will
Hello, sir.
just generate.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
sir. Yeah, I can, once it's time for practical, I can share my screen, then I'll be using my own chat GPT to do the practical aspects.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Right, so I will just mention which parts that would use. Thank you. So then, if we take this example, write about AI, we would see how AI would just give us random facts about AI to tell us, so artificial intelligence, tell us about the history. But if we are specific and we say write 200-word essay explaining the applications of AI in healthcare, we are narrowing it down. It's going to that it's 200 word essay to know, okay, and to explain applications of AI. So we have to be very specific and clear. You cannot expect to say, talk about food and expect it to start talking about West African foods. If you wanted to talk about West African foods, you have to be specific and say it like immediately. So that's basically one of the technique in prompt engineering. We have to be very specific and clear. So the next one. So include background information or details that the model needs to generate a relevant response. So I would love us to run a practical about this. If we can just open ChatGPT. So please, if you can open ChatGPT, so we can try crafting prompts. Yeah. Right. So basically, what we'll be doing is we would try a basic prompt, something someone will just try normally. Then we would try and optimize prompts. Then we'll see the difference in the output ChatGPT will give us. All right.
Okay.
So if so type in response to a complaint about late delivery.
Whatever
Response
you
to a
want to
complaint.
send, you can just type it on the chat section so that I can easily
Right.
copy and paste. If
Copy
you
and
have,
paste. All right.
yes.
I'll do that now.
Then I will encourage others to that are with us can just copy and paste on ChatGPT to compare so that it won't look one-sided. Do you have access to the chat section, Mr. King
Yes.
David?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
thank
I
you.
do so. Okay. So I've sent it to the chat button.
Confirm if you are still typing, sir.
Yes, sir. Please let's put the first prompt.
Okay, respond to complaint about late delivery.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm doing response to complaint about late delivery.
Yes. All right. So we are talking about providing context. So we need, let's say I'm a customer care agent and I'm trying to use AI as I'm working, and someone is complaining about, I'm trying to respond to someone complaining about late delivery. And I go to ChatGPT, I type respond to a complaint about late delivery. Okay, it types subject, apology for the late delivery. Dear, put the customer's name. Thank you for reaching and bringing this to our attention. We sincerely apologize. Okay, we can read all through best regards, your position and all that. So we can see, even as much as it provides the format that we might need, since we didn't provide it enough context, it doesn't know where we work, it doesn't know what we are working as. We might be HR, it might be HR or whatever. So it's not exactly sure. So it just tries to provide a broad format. But if we provide enough context in crafting our prompts, we will see a better tailored response. So I'll send another prompt that we should enter, and we'll see in the output that ChatGPT will give us. So I've sent the second prompt to the chat button.
Okay. So the second part is, I am David working as a customer care agent in Amazing. Respond to a complaint about late delivery.
Yes. So now we can see the difference in the response that but when the first response was
Hello, King David, are you still there? Hello, King David, are you still there?
I think we should still give him a few minutes. Must be network issue.
Okay, thank you, ma.
okay.
You back?
Yes, sir.
So sorry about that, but I expected you to. Okay, so sorry about that. Let's go ahead.
Okay. So we can see the difference in both responses. We can see the second one is more tailored for what I need as a customer care agent. You can see, thank you for contacting Amazon regarding delaying your order. It adds my company into the draft. So as a worker now, it makes it way easier for me. I can just edit this and send it straight to the customer that complained. So we have to provide enough context when we are crafting our prompts. So let's go back to the techniques in prompt engineering. If you can go back to the slide. All right. So we have the next technique. We have use few shot learning. Few shot learning, that's the next technique. Using few shot learning. So for few shot learning, you provide few examples to illustrate the desired output. So in this example, you might need one, we just need one output. We need one output. So in order for us to tell generative AI, tell Gen AI that this is what we need, we would give a few examples. So if you were to do this, you can just type it out if you want. Input, translate hello to Spanish, output hola. Exactly how it is written in the slide. Translate thank you to Spanish, output gracias. Then you put the third input, translate good morning to Spanish, then leave output blank. If you run this, or if you put this in ChatGPT, it's going to give you output same as the other output in the example. We can see translate hello to Spanish just gave us hola as output. Translate thank you to Spanish just gave us output as gracias. So if we run this last, if we put this last input in ChatGPT or any other generative AI, it will also just give us one output. So using few shot learning, you can basically try it out in different ways. Give ChatGPT two other examples, how you want it to come out, then it will come out that way. Then we also have specify format. Define the structure of the output explicitly. So we have an example here. Write the recipe for chocolate cake in bullet points with ingredients first, followed by steps. So if you want a specific format, if you want a specific format, you have to specify it to AI. If I just go into ChatGPT and I write the recipe for chocolate cake, it's definitely going to give me the recipe, am I right? But it won't give me in the intended format. ChatGPT is not in your head. What you're thinking of, it's not thinking of it that way. You have to specify it. So this example is a better way to craft that prompt. You're telling it, oh, I need it in bullet points. Write the recipe for me in bullet points. Oh, I need the ingredients to come first before the steps. So this is another technique. You have to specify the format. Let's say you're also writing an essay, and in your essay, you are told to, in your essay, you're given a format. You also have to specify that format. In an essay, you're told, okay, let there be 3 sentences in a paragraph, or let there be bullet points for every point stated. You have to specify that format in order for you to get the most effective response. So moving on to the next, we have leverage system rules. Leverage system rules. That's the next technique, leverage system rules. So giving AI a persona or a role helps it to tailor its behavior. So, for example, we say you are a teacher explaining calculus to a beginner. Explain integration in simpler terms or in simple terms. It's giving AI a role to play as a teacher. If I say explain calculus, AI would explain calculus. It might explain it in bogus terms. It might explain it in a way I will not like. But if you give AI a role to play, tell it, oh, you are a teacher, you are explaining calculus to a beginner. So AI is going to play a role of a teacher teaching a beginner. So this is another technique that will help you get more effective response. Let's say I'm actually a beginner in calculus and I need a simpler way, or a simpler explanation. And I tell it explain calculus. It explain calculus and I say in simpler terms, and it generates an output and it's not as simple as I want. I say in simpler terms, you just keep on going on and on. When you can just assign a role to AI and to play that role effectively. AI is good heads in role playing. Immediately, if you type this response, you can also try it out. You're a teacher explaining calculus to a beginner, explain integration in simple terms. It will give analogies for you to understand better. It will give easier ways for you to understand better. So leveraging system rules is a very effective technique in prompt engineering. So moving on to the next, we have set constraints and limits. So let's say, for example, you're writing an essay rather, writing an essay of 100 words. You're writing an essay of 500 words. And the essay is about sports in Nigeria. If I tell AI, oh, write a short essay about sports in Nigeria, short to me might be 500, short to AI might be something else. So you have to set that constraint, you have to set that limit. You have to give it a style or a word count for it to follow. If I tell it, I am writing an essay on sports in Nigeria, this essay should not be more than 500 words. You've already given AI a constraint to follow. You've already limited AI. So AI knows, all right, as I'm generating this output, I should not give more than 500 words. I should keep my point and idea that I will be giving this person within 500 words. Within less than 500 words, it should not be more than that. So even if I'm giving AI an input to summarize, let's say I give AI a document of 5,000 words and I tell it to summarize, yeah, I might summarize it to 8,000 words. But if I'm specific and still set constraint, I tell it to summarize this article in 50 words or less, it will find a way to work with the constraints given, work with the limits given, and it will give more effective output and better output. So the next one, we have ask open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions. That's the next technique. Ask open-ended questions. So using open-ended questions can be used for creativity. Using open-ended questions can be used for creativity. So an example of that is, what are the key benefits of renewable energy? So for example, you're trying to brainstorm, you're trying to think of project ideas, you're trying to think of topics to write about. Instead of giving constraints, that's why we should know the specific time to apply these techniques. If we want to brainstorm, we would let AI run wild. We would make it open-ended. We would let it know, okay, I'm just trying to brainstorm. Just give me open-ended answers. So once you give open-ended questions, you get open-ended answers. So what are the key benefits of renewable energy? AI is going to give you. There are no we didn't specify a format. You didn't specify a format in this prompt. We didn't give it a constraint. So AI is just going to give you a wide overview of the benefits of renewable energy. So it helps for creativity if you're trying to brainstorm. So this is a technique if you're trying to brainstorm. Then we have next structured input prompting. We have structured input prompting. So structured input prompting provides clear and an organized structure to guide the AI model towards generating a concise and logically formatted response. So if I want benefits of renewable energy if I want it numbered, instead of me saying, give me the benefits of renewable energy in numbers or in a numbered format, I can just give it benefits of renewable energy. The way it is in the example, benefits of renewable energy. If I just want three benefits, I will just number it 1, 2, 3. And AI will be able to know that, oh, all right, this is the input it wants. This is the input I was giving. I should also give an output that is similar to this. So if you try this out now, benefits of renewable energy, you can try it out. Benefits of renewable energy, then you number it 1, 2, and 3, and you give it to, or say, ChatGPT. It will also follow your format because you've already structured your input. So the same way you give it in the input, it will also tailor it in the output. So next we have simplified language prompting. We have simplified language prompting. That's the next technique. So simplified language prompting involves framing the question in a way that guides AI to provide the response in simple and easy to understand terms. Next slide. That's simplified language prompting. Okay. Involves framing the question in a way that guides AI to provide the response in simple, easy to understand terms, which is suitable for a specific audience. So, for example, let's say I'm going to talk to primary school students about a certain topic. Let's use photosynthesis again. I'm trying to talk to primary school students. So if I talk to them with like certain words that they're not familiar with, it might take them some time for them to be able to understand. So that's where simplified language prompting comes in. So I would love us to also try it out as an example. If we can type, let's use ChatGPT again and try out simplified language prompting. Let's take an example. So I'll type in chat the first input. So the first input, let's just say, what is photosynthesis? So that'll be our first input. So in simplified language prompting, we have to tell AI, okay, the words you're using now are too bogus, the words you're using are too big. Please simplify it. So this example would just better buttress what I'm trying to say. So let's put the first prompt. All right. So we can see when we simply asked ChatGPT what is photosynthesis, it's using terms like it's using terms like atmospheric, chemical energy, glucose, giving us the equation for photosynthesis. And at this point in time, I just need let's say I'm a beginner, I do not understand what all these terms mean. And I'm trying to get it in a very simplified version. That's what we're talking about, simplified language prompting. We'll have to paint a picture to AI. We'll have to tell it, okay, explain photosynthesis to an 80-year-old child. You have to give it, oh, okay, this is the specific audience that we're working with. So let's put in the second prompt. Explain photosynthesis to an 80-year-old child. So it's the same question you're asking, but at this time, we are tailoring our output to be more simplified. So we can see right now, it's going to explain photosynthesis in a more simplified format. It's talking, oh, photosynthesis is how plants make their own food. You can see it's more simplified. It just heads straight to the point and explains it in more, and a more organized format. If you change this to explain it to a 5-year-old child, you see it will still break it down further. To still break it down further and make it sound more understandable to a 5-year-old child. So we have to paint a picture. We have to, if we know we want a simplified output, we have to also tell ChatGPT that, or tell AI that rather, have to we have to simplify the language that we're working with. So moving on to the next technique, we'll, instead of going back to the slide, we'll be working with AI Studio in Google. I'll just drop the link in chat also so we can head straight there. All right. So using temperature. So temperature is a parameter that is used to control the randomness or creativity of a model's output. So in language models like GPT, there is something called temperature. Temperature is basically, the higher the temperature is, the more creative ChatGPT AI is rather. So the higher the temperature, the more creative it is. The lower the temperature, the more standardized it is. So let's
King David, we can't hear you again. Please, very sorry for the break in transmission. I think he's trying to get a hold of his network. Please, let's just bear for some few minutes. Thank you. Okay, I think Dr. Oladapo has some contributions for us. So, Dr. Oladapo, please, you can unmute and go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Jacobs, and I believe you can all hear me. While we are actually waiting for King David, anytime he's in, I'll just have to pause for him to continue. Please just note that when you are using prompts in any of the LLMs or probably the AI package, there are some skills that are expected to put into your prompts. And this will actually guide you in what to do. The first point that you need to understand or that you need to know is you have to learn to use the 80-20 principle to learn faster. So you learn to apply don't forget if King David is online, just let me know so that I can easily pause and allow him to continue. Then from there, I can contribute later. So using the 80-20 principle to learn faster, you give an example of a prompt. For example, I want to learn about AI. Identify and share the most important 20% of learning from this topic to help me understand 80%. So for those of us that are into research, those are the prompts that you can actually, so that it's ChatGPT or probably any of the AI model, we give you 20%. And it is from there, it will help you to understand 80% on your own, where to guide you in learning faster. Don't forget, all these tools are to supplement our knowledge. They are not to replace our knowledge. So that is on that. Then when it comes to the second principle that we need to understand is that we are to learn and develop any new skills. Any new skill. Those are the things that you need to look into, learn and develop any new skills. And how do you look at that prompt to do that? You can just say as a prompt, type to AI, to any of the generative AI, I want to improve at sleeping. That's for example, I am a complete beginner. Create a 30-day learning plan that will help a beginner like me learn and improve this skill. Some of you are into your project writing and you want to learn a particular application, and you know you have 10 days. You just say, I want to learn generative AI. I am a complete beginner. Create a 10-day learning plan that will help a beginner like me learn and improve this skill. So by the time you do that, it will actually give you the 10-day plan. And of a truth, if you are devoted to it and you actually work in line with that, you will definitely achieve your uh, your aim. So those are those things that you need to understand. In addition to this, we also have the third one where you can as well, just like King David has said, Mr. King David, that you summarize long documents and articles. So how do you do that? If you have a prompt, you'll be able to say, okay, after this, so I still have three more, but let me explain this. So the prompt you will use will be summarize the text below and give a list of bulleted points with key highlights and the most important facts. Then you insert the text. So you realize that the system will actually give you a summary of a long document or an article. So I will continue the three as other remaining parts after King David. King David, you are welcome back. Can you please go ahead?
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ladapo. So we were discussing using temperature, and I was saying let's head over to aistudio.google.com. I dropped the link in chat. So everyone, a quick recap. I was saying increased temperature helps output to be more creative. It helps output to be more limitless, but reducing temperature helps it to be more with a constraint, like it is more standardized. So this we can also use this while brainstorming. We can also experiment with temperature when you're writing an essay. If you're writing an essay and it's giving you um an essay that is too it is too it is too streamlined, or it is too standard, and you want something more creative, so you can work with the temperature, you can bump up the temperature, you can bring down the temperature. So let's let's have a prompt. Let's say talk about, I'll drop that in chat to talk about.
Sorry, sir. I to click
Yes, sir.
on new prompt.
Yes, a new prompt.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So let's just have a prompt. Talk about generative AI. We can see temperature by the side. We have we can see temperature by the side, and by default it's at 1. So let's leave it at 1. Then just put in this prompt. Talk about generative AI. So we'll see the output it will give us. Then when we increase the temperature, we'll see that output, the output it also give us. When we reduce it, we'll see the output it also give us.
So temperature is at 1 now, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. So let's see the output it will give us. So let's run that.
It's working now, sir.
All right. So we can see it tells us how it works. It's tells us the key technologies, tells us the applications of generative AI. And while looking, we can see the grammar, the format it's using. It's a balanced format. Everything is, it's not something so vast. It's not something so wide. It's balanced because it's at one. So let's increase the temperature to 2. That should be the highest, to 2, and give it that same prompt. So let's impute the prompt, talk about generative AI again, then we increase the temperature to 2. Okay. I think just okay. Can just take out the last letter and put it back in.
Okay, done.
Okay. Yes. So we can see right now it gives a different format. It's talking more about generative AI. It's telling us about deepfakes, telling us about this. Can we scroll up a bit? Yes. It's telling more, giving us, it's more creative now. It's saying think of it like this. It's using more simplified words. It's talking more about ethical and social considerations, the future. So increasing the temperature just makes it become more creative. Temperature just allows, it's the parameter used to create and to control the randomness or creativity of a model's output. So the is lowered, it just makes it standardized. It makes it standardized. So whenever you are, let's say you're working on something new or you're brainstorming, you can bump up the temperature to 2. So AI talks more. AI is not, the limit on AI is not as much as it should be. Temperature limits that randomness or creativity. So the higher it is, the higher the creativity, the lower it is, the lower the creativity. So that's basically it working with temperature. You can still experiment with this a lot. The link is in chat. So if you still over there, then increase the temperature. Okay, so I will just continue here. So please, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So so that's it. So you can still head over to the site to experiment yourself to see how it works when you increase temperature and when you reduce temperature. So we can go back to the slides now. We would be talking about the last thing on our agenda, the RISEN prompt framework. So it is one of the best framework I use. Most times when I work with ChatGPT, I use it most of the time because I find it to be effective, especially when I'm using or when I need it to when I need it for like large when I need it to generate large output for me. I use the RISEN prompt framework. So basically, what the RISEN prompt framework, it inculcates all the techniques in prompt engineering, and it's it uses all those techniques to be able to craft effective prompts. So it breaks down the whole process. We have spoken about setting constraints. We have spoken about specifying the formats. We have spoken about um, asking open-ended questions. We spoke about structured input prompting. But now in the RISEM prompt framework, it's a framework that helps you to inculcate all these techniques into crafting effective inputs, crafting effective prompts. So RISCN is actually an acronym. When the slide is up, you would see it on the slide. RISCN is actually an acronym. R stands for role, ROLE. R stands for role. I stands for instructions. S stands for steps. E stands for end goal. N stands for narrowing. Some people call it RISEN framework. Some people call it RISEC because narrowing is also called constraints sometimes. So it can either be called the RISEN framework or the RISEC framework. So now explaining the RISEN role. So when crafting prompts, if we are crafting prompts and you work with the RISEN framework, you have basically inculcated the most important techniques you need, because R stands for role. You have to give AI a role to play. You have to establish the AI's role. You have to set the stage for the type of response that you want. So if I tell it, oh, you will be playing as a teacher, or you are a teacher, or you're a doctor, or you're a marketer, you are an engineer, the AI knows, oh, okay, this is what I am. This is the role I'll be playing. So that is the R. I stands for instruction. So after we tell AI the role to play, we would give AI instructions. We'll give AI instructions. So we have to clarify and tell AI what we want AI to do. We have to provide a clear directive to AI. So, for example, we tell it you're an engineer or you're a doctor, then we give it instructions. You are prescribing drugs to a patient. So now that's an instruction. We're telling it, oh, you have to prescribe drugs to a patient. So that stands for that's for RI. The next we have steps. For steps, that is S. Break down the task into manageable steps, ensuring a logical progression. So you give it in steps. You give it steps. After giving it a role to play, after you give it instructions to carry out, you have to give it steps in how it will carry out that task. The next we have E, the end goal. So after we give it a role, we give it an instruction, we give it steps, we have to ask, oh, what will be the end goal? What are we expecting after this whole thing? So we tell it, oh, this is our end goal. This is what we want at the end of this. This is the output we are expecting. This is the output we should work with, or this is what we are expecting after all is said and done. So we're going to give it an end goal. Then N stands for narrowing. And also I mentioned narrowing is also constraints. So N is basically setting constraints. N is basically setting constraints. So R stands for roles, giving AI a role. I stands for instructions, giving AI instruction. So in order to craft an effective prompt, you have to give all this has to be implemented. Give AI a role, give AI the instruction, give AI the steps to be followed, give AI the end goal, and N, give AI constraints. So, for example, we want to write an essay, or we want to write and we want to do an assignment, because many of us use AI for assignment. or what we are doing. So we can use RISCM framework. First, you give it a role. First, yes. So first, you give it a role. You give AI a role to play. You give AI a role to play. You give it instructions. So now let's say I'm a student who wants to write an essay and I want to result to ChatGPT to write the essay for me. Is university or as a student in a highly accredited university. That's the role I've given AI. I've already told it, oh, you're playing the role of a student. Oh, you're working as a student. So AI is now aware that, oh, it's working as a student. It's not a teacher. It's not an analyst. It knows its role now, that its role is to act as a student in a prestigious university. So AI is so AI is so advanced that only telling it to a student in a university, it will be able to know the type of grammar to use in the essay. It know the type of words. It know the type of progression. Know the type of citations that are even used in university. To know that okay, APA, it knows IEEE. It will know that okay, we should use this format. We should use that format. But just giving it that rule alone, giving it the role to play alone does a lot. Then next, we give it instruction to tell it write an essay on write an essay on prompt engineering. Write an essay on prompt engineering. As a student in a prestigious university, write an essay on prompt engineering. So I've given it instruction now, a very clear instruction. It should write an essay on prompt engineering. Then for the S, I give it steps. I give it steps. I tell it give an introduction, give a statement of problem, give an abstract, give benefits of prompt engineering, give future of prompt engineering, then a conclusion. So I've given it steps, I've given it a role to play, I've given it instructions to follow, I've given it steps to follow. And then E, which stands for end goal, we'll have to give it an end goal. So as a student in a prestigious university, okay. So as a student in a prestigious university, please write an essay on prompt engineering. We have stated the rule and instruction. Now the steps, which should include an introduction, an abstract, a statement of problem, a a future, a future of prompt engineering, or a section containing future of prompt engineering. Then a conclusion. I've given it the steps. Then lastly, the end goal. We'll say this 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 essay this essay should be worthy of being submitted, or this essay should be worthy of being um, submitted in a prestigious university, or this essay should be free of plagiarism, or giving it an end goal. We're just basically telling AI now what we are expecting at the end. So that's what end goal stands for. Then narrowing, we set for constraints. That's where we can set constraints. You can tell it this essay should not be more than 5,000 words. This essay should not be more than 5,000 words. You have set a constraint there. We can also mention all references should be in the upper format. We have set the constraint there. So if AI would have given me an IEEE, it will know that, oh, okay, we're working with upper, and that constraint to be set there. IEEE would not be used anymore. It will work with upper. So when I say this essay should not be less than 5,000 words, it should work with the upper format. It should be free of plagiarism. It should stick. It should be able to. It should be able to bypass AI checks. All this is just setting constraints to narrow down what you want. And if you just try out, I implore every one of us to just try this out. Just take the RISEN framework and try out that new prompt or that prompt that you're working on. Give AI a role to play. Give AI clear instructions. What you expect at the end, the ultimate objective of the prompt, then give it constraints. And at the end of that, AI is going to give you a very effective output, a very clear output that you would not need to end up editing and saying, oh, change this, oh, change that. By the time you just give it at once, AI will be able to understand. AI is something that has to be explained to you in clear terms. NLP, natural language processing, is something that AI is having still having um issues with. So you have to, even though it's way better now, way back in 2022, if you tell AI something and you're not in clear terms, AI will just generate a random thing for you. But now it's getting better because of NLP and machine learning. It's learning, it's relearning and learning and learning. But using clear terms basically saves of editing and saying change this, do that, not good, not good enough. So giving AI a role to play, giving it instructions, giving it steps, giving it an end goal, then setting constraints helps to build very effective prompts and also consequentially get effective output. So now we have our conclusion. I will just conclude and then we will take questions if we do. So effective prompt engineering is the key to unlocking full potential of AI. There are so many things we have not even tried in AI. AI could, ChatGPT for instance, can give you a document. Instead of you copying and pasting a document, you can tell it, oh, give it to me in a document format. It will literally give you in a document format for you to download. If you tell me, give it to me in a table, it will give it to you in a table. You can create slides. You just need to be very clear. You just need to be able to craft prompts, and also practicing is also a good way to learn effective prompt engineering. You have to know terms that you would use that AI grabs quickly. You have to know formats that you give that AI has to work with. So if you effectively craft your prompt, if engineering is done effectively, you would unlock the full potential of AI. AI is especially generative AI, it can do way much more than we think. It can do way much more than we even know. Even it can even bypass plagiarism checks, it can bypass AI checks. But if, learning how to engineer our prompts, we are learning how to put our prompts in the right manner, in the right grammar, is the key to unlocking the full potential. So crafting effective prompts, we can get productive, innovative, and impactful interaction with AI systems. So we can create smarter, we can create effective interactions that would bridge human creativity with AI capabilities. So I always feel there's a synergy between humans and AI. There should be a synergy between humans and AI. So we should always be able to bridge that human creativity with AI capabilities, being creative with your responses, being creative with your responses, being being not limited to a particular thoughts that we have while crafting prompts can help us to have vast AI outputs. AI is really, really wide. AI can really, I'm sure touched we have not touched a lot of we have not touched a lot of parts that AI can, generative AI especially, can do. We just give AI a prompt and we are satisfied with that. If we actually tailor it to what we need, we can see can AI can give us exactly what we want, 100%. So prompt engineering is the key to that, and practicing using these techniques, using different frameworks, RISEN frameworks. There are still other frameworks, but RISEN is my favorite. Exploring these frameworks, combining them, using them all would be able to give us effective and better outputs while working with generative AI. So we'll be able to optimize our responses while using generative AI. So I'm really excited I was really excited to speak on this, and I'm thankful for everyone that has come here and has been here. So if there are any questions, if there are any contributions, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, King David. Thank you. Your session has been so enlightening. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your resilience, even though the network was trying to be funny. But I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. So now I'll be asking if there are any contribution. Dr. Ladapo mentioned earlier that I would continue with his contribution. So please, Dr. Ladapo, kindly go ahead, sir. Okay. Our Koya is raising his hand. Please hold on, sir. After Dr. Ladapo, you can go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Awokoya is Mrs. I know Miss Olukemi Jacobs, and yeah, you don't know. So quickly on my contribution, I want to continue that the fourth thing you need to understand is that you are to train your generative AI model to generate prompt for you. You can give an example that you are an AI design to help computer scientists generate a list of 10 best prompts for yourself. The prompt should be about so topics. So those are the things that the AI will also give you prompts to guide you in searching for more knowledge. You can also use it to any new skill. For example, you can say, I have 3 free days a week and 2 months. Design a crash study plan to master HTML or to master crafting skill. And the system will definitely give you a crash plan. Then also you can use it to simplify complex information. That is, you can say, I'm giving prompts that break down photosynthesis, just like I mentioned, into smaller, easier to understand parts. Use analogies and real-life examples to simplify and make the concept relatable. So those are the things that you can actually look into. And to corroborate, to conclude, I would like us to know that when it comes to academics, you can actually use AI and cite them, but your plagiarism check has percentages. The RISN model that he gave, I know it will work better and it will work fine, but I'm not sure whether it will actually give you some original references. Ms. Olukemi Jacobs, we've been working on various research together, and part of what we discuss or we discover is that when you use AI, it gives us just fake or very good, a different reference. And by the time you look at the DOI, you see a different article then that was cited for some text that were actually so good. So we need to be very careful in how we use this, but the prompt engineering will help you to give you details of what you can easily search for, and it will guide you and make your research very easy, but not for us to be lazy. Research, AI will make research easy, not to be lazy. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Olukemi Jacobs.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that great contribution. I don't know, Mr. or Mrs. Awokoya, right? I don't know if you are still with us. You were raising your hands earlier. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear
Yes,
you,
we can
ma'am.
hear you, ma'am.
My hands. David, thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
for that wonderful presentation. Yes, I joined late, but I'm glad when I joined, I was able to still pick one of two things which I think made me feel I've not actually missed a lot, because it was actually very insightful for me. Thank you very much. I want to say, is there, okay, let me start by saying, actually, some of those things you said, especially this framework, which you spoke about, the recent framework, I don't know about it before now, but I noticed I've been trying to fine-tune Llama 3.2 instructs model, and I've been trying to do that, and because I wasn't actually giving it a prompt, I wasn't actually giving it the roadmap. It wasn't giving me the right, my scores for evaluating it was not very high, as in my evaluation score was not high. So when I met with during my research, I noticed I was supposed to also give it a roadmap, which I just said, oh, um, you are a translator, a professional translator, and you can do this and do that. And I noticed my blessed score that was always at around 1 point something, shoot up to around 5. And I was like, whoa. So just because, and I didn't even know it was this, this roadmap thing that I was actually doing. And sorry, this recent framework. So I actually allude to what you have said. And because I had done something like that, it made me feel, wow, so I'm doing something good. And thank God for David also saying this. It's a nice one. But my question now is, we know that this language model have just been trained on a series of data, and what they do mostly is to predict the next word based on the data they have seen, which we have trillions of them in cases of our large, the ChatGPT and stuff like that. So how can we actually ensure, given all these instructions and everything we load the model with or the system with, how can we ensure that the system does not hallucinate? Because this is it. I've been trying to, at times when I prompt my language model, ChatGPT, when I prompt it and I say, okay, do this, hey, if you are confused, ensure you ask me questions. I'm just, when I want to ensure that it doesn't hallucinate, I try to force it to give me the right questions, but the right answers. But alas, it will still ask me questions. It will just move on and generate and leave me to validating what it has generated, if it is right or wrong. So as my expert now in generative AI, sir, I want to ask, is there any framework or is there any method which we can use to ensure that our systems do not hallucinate, that is, they bring out the right response? I don't know if you understand my question. Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, well, it's so good to hear from you too.
Mrs. Awokoya, as an expert,
I'm very happy.
you can see he's saying yes, man.
Yes, well, I'm so happy to hear from you, man. All
My
right,
pleasure.
so
I'm
yes,
that how you guys.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay, no, I'm just appreciating you. I said I'm really happy and I'm grateful for what you are doing here. So my response, answers to my questions.
So that happening. So that's the thing about AI. Generative AI has predicts the next words that are coming. So even if how the way ChatGPT can be told 2 plus 2, what is 2 plus 2? Then it will say 4. Then you tell it, oh no, it's not 4, it's 5. And then it's there, oh, I'm sorry, it's 5. ChatGPT has not only most generative platforms have that I will call it hallucination. They have that tendency to hallucinate. And then some platforms are tailored to specific things. Like I feel ChatGPT is one platform that everybody uses. Like it has an idea of everything. So I've also this exact problem you're talking about, this exact issue that you mentioned, is something to be encountering, then it just keeps on. I would end up like having to stop that chat, creating a new chat, and I would just be like stuck at that point and going on and on. Then I discovered, okay, there are other platforms. So for DeepSeek, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in the in the. I'll type it in there now. Chatseek.com. So DeepSeek found out about this issue about AI just rigmaroling and still. So it's if you head over to this chat.deepseek.com, you find out has or is working on a way to solve this problem. It allows you to see the logical progression of AI, of generative AI. So if you head over to chat.deepseek.com, you find out that it has a mode called Deep Think. Deep Think. You can just it's toggled on and off. So if you turn on Deep Think and you ask the question, what is AI? And you turn on Deep Think, you would see the progression of of it thinking to be like, oh, I was asked by the user, what is AI? Is AI this? Or if you give it a math problem and you tell it, I was asked to is it not for, are there other ways to solve this? You would see the progression. So I feel there are some that a particular AI platform or a particular generative AI platform might not be able to solve. And at that point, if you keep on and it's not being solved, you just like you can when I'm working, I hardly just use one platform. I'm not like stop it, I'm Gemini. I use when I'm working with Deep Think, I work with Deep Think mostly coding because it allows me to see the progression. So just using different platforms for what they are tailored for. So this DeepSeek I dropped is mostly for coding, for essay writing. ChatGPT is mostly for a general overview. So it's if you find out you're encountering them and you apply various techniques and you still getting to find out other generative AI platforms that are taught to that thing. So let's say it's essay writing. There are different generative AI platforms that tailor writing. If it's coding, there are AI platforms tailor coding. So that error is minimized because that's basically the whole point of that of that. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, partly, but I'm not so convinced because I know that all this generative AI, they are just trained to predict the next word, or the next sequence of whatever they see. Even the codes, they are seen as numbers, not as if they know the words or they know anything. Everything that the system sees is a set of vectors in different dimensions. So I know that it's just everything they are generating. Why they seem to be that intelligent, I don't know. There's this line I still want to learn more on, which is, are they actually intelligent? So I that is why I don't know. I might be wrong, and that is why I'm actually asking this question. Yeah, maybe it could save me my time of digging and reading more. I know they are all trained on large data sets, and that makes them to see different instances of things. And now, if unless you're saying of all the questions I might want to ask, it would have been, that is, the system might have seen it before, and then it could be able to generate something. It could be able to give me the right answer. But I feel if I'm coming up with something which has not been on the internet, or which my system had not been trained of, my system can still hallucinate. And is there no way I can explicitly let it know, even if I move from ChatGPT to DeepSeek or to Gemini or to whichever one? Is there not a way I can tell it explicitly and ensure that it doesn't hallucinate? Is there or is there not? So
Okay. For
Did
I think for AI hallucination, you can just add you can just constraint. If you feel okay, you ask it's edging towards another answer, you just set the constraint. So it's just like adding roadblocks until you get the desired output that you're looking for. Because that's the thing, AI is still experimental at this point. It's still being worked on.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think I
So
appreciate the answer.
move on
Thank you.
constraints. Thank you so much, man.
All right. King David, are you done answering that question?
Yes, I am. Thank you. If there are any other
Okay, thank you
contributions,
so much.
it will
If
also
there are any other contributions and questions, it's already on the chat section that we can also drop our questions on that chat section. But so is there anyone raising his or her hand or wants to ask any question? King David, I have a question for you. You know, while Dr. Ladapo was discussing about we doing a research and then discovering that some of the references during research, that some of the references generated by AI were not correct. Like
yes.
when you check through the DOI, it gives a totally different reference, a different citation. So I want to ask you, what are some ways that
Yes.
you think that can be used to address the use of this issue of bias in generative AI models?
Okay. So I usually I encounter that problem. I've encountered that problem a lot because I also just had I had a report I wrote a few weeks ago. So
King David, are you there? Are you with us?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma, you can go ahead, ma.
Okay, let me just come in at that point before he comes again. I think from with what I know, explicitly, it's not as if the system is biased towards anything. It's just hallucinating. Like it does not know the answer, and it knows that the answer should always be of this form, and it just brings one or two together and sends it out and say, this is what I feel the answer is. It's not, so that is hallucination. And if I can really understand from his answer, his previous answer, he said generative AI is still at the stage of experimentation. It's not really, it's still coming up. Then if that happens, we need to change roadmap now, the instructions, the way we ask the question. I think if I actually got what he said right the other time, it's actually almost is the same question. Yeah. And it's not as if it's not being biased. It's not that the system is saying something that relates to a particular aspect. It's just that it's coming up with something that does not exist. And that is actually hallucination. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. But concerning this hallucination, what are the things that we can use to address it? Because I know it's in its generative AI, it's in its test and trials phase. But then, what are the ways that they can use to address these issues so as to reduce this hallucinating or hallucination issue?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the same question I asked him. And he also said it's because it's still in experimental stage. And actually, I know also that because it's not just, it's a general thing. It's just a phase, which we believe possibly with different researches, AI, generative AI would get out of that phase and give us better and accurate results. But now the only way to go about it is just to check through whatever the system gives you as your response. You just have to manually go through it. Don't just take it and dump it and use it the same way, because the system is not perfect yet, so it will hallucinate. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So the conclusion is just that whatever it gives us, we should try to go the extra mile to make our own efforts to make sure that whatever answers it gives us is correct, because we know that it's still in its experimental state. It seems
right.
we have. Thank you so much, ma'am. This is our choir. Thank you, ma'am. It seems that we have lost King David again, and it's almost the time to come to an end of this meeting. But I don't know if we have any other person who wants to ask a question or answer or contribution. Please, the floor is open before we hand over to Dr. Ladapo.
I don't
Yeah,
have anything
sorry,
to
please.
say.
Let me just,
Okay, ma'am.
Dr. Ladapo, please. Let me just use this opportunity to say hi to all my students. Yeah, I can see them all on the chat, on the group, on the chat. And I just want to say good evening all. So it won't be as if I see you and I overlooked you. You guys, I appreciate you all. So good evening, everyone. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Ladapo, for facilitating this. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right.
So, Dr. Ladapo, is King David back?
Yes, ma. Using a colleague. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, faintly.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you faintly.
Okay.
So we've deliberated on it, but I don't know if you still have
Can
further
you hear me better
answers.
now?
Please go ahead. Yes, I can. If you still have further answers, please go ahead to give it. Though we have
I'll just
deliberated on
make
it, but
it
if you have further
I'll
answers,
just make
yes.
it
And your line is breaking.
I'll just make it a short one. I think before
Okay.
I'll make it a short one.
Okay.
I'll make it a short one. So before explicitly tell, like in the prompt, explicitly tell that to the check if the reference is real or not. I I jokingly call it threatening. Tell you, oh, these references will be checked to see if they are real. They will be checked. They will be imputed into a reference checker. Just explicitly that it to be checked. Then that helps sometimes. That helps most times. And you can even before requesting for references, you can ask for all the references to be given to you, so you will check them. AI at that point will understand that, oh, okay, this is going to be checked, so it will be more careful in giving responses. And you can also give AI the constraint to tell you if you don't have if you do not have a your reference for this, or if you cannot provide the reference,
King David, we can barely hear you. We can barely hear you.
No. So yeah, that is so So I expect
Okay.
to get better now.
Can you, King David? We can barely hear you. So you can do well
Alright.
to just type it in the chat section.
Okay,
Before we
I
round
will
this.
type it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We want to appreciate everyone who is in attendance in tonight's webinar. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining this webinar, and we hope that next month edition you will all be there as well to learn from the webinar. Before we log out of this meeting, we would like to take a group picture. So please let's do well to show our beautiful and handsome faces before we end this meeting tonight.
Dr. Ladapo.
Okay, Mr. Joachim, you're online. So let's all turn up our camera.
Can I say one thing just to appreciate?
Yeah, please go ahead. We have Mr. Joachim online. Please go ahead, all the way from UK.
All right. I want to say a very big thank you to the director, Mrs. Oluwakemi Jacob. I also want to appreciate all the students and a big one to the convener himself, King David. I'm quite impressed with you, my boy. And a shout out to everyone. It will suffice to know that this topic is an evolving one. And it's something I'm just even researching currently. One thing I would like us to look at, which will say the gap identified in today's presentation, is that we should look at the impact of generative AI in higher education. Because a convener, David, has dealt a very nice and very good to the benefit of the groups of generative AI so far, looking at prompt engineering. I would like to also celebrate or look at its impact, whether positive or negative impact it has in our higher education as a case study. Because if you look at it, some researchers have argued that the cons of generative AI is doing a very depth blow to the critical thinking and analysis of our students. So if there is a way, and I think the director himself pointed it out for his contribution when he mentioned we should not rely solely on the output of this generative AI. And also the MCA, Mrs. Ms. Solukemi Jacobs, she also mentioned of something called bias.
You today do self repair. When I do self repair, yeah, what about does they because not everybody they buy pure water. Not everybody they buy pure water. But you know me say you go send the person.
Hello, who is?
Please kindly mute yourself, please.
I've done that. Just go ahead.
My students. Okay, so
Ewo Michael, well done.
generative AI tools have really changed the pace of teaching and learning in particular, But there's need for us to also consider the biasment it has. There's biasment because if some of I don't know the word to use now, the responses that some of the generative AI gives has already set up prompts of what it knows. And so when it wants to, I think they used some of these models that are used to build up this generative AI and be tweaked and influenced such that to give the desired result. For example, if it's being used for, in the case of election, it can be used to rig an election. Those are some of the findings where we are beginning to look at. So, like I said, so many researchers looked at the negative impact, how it has caused biasment in so many areas, even the unethical considerations too that it's about. But all in all, I want us to just look at how we can have a balance, in this whole thing, generative AI has brought about, especially higher education. Thank you. Let me stop. But so far, I want to appreciate everyone, Director Dr. Ladapo, Kings. Okay, I know you can hear me. It's a good one. Then see all the coordinator, Mrs. Jacob. I think I would like to see.
Thank you so much.
Then Abokoya, we have our own to discuss when you are done. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Joachim from UK. Thank you very much, Mrs. Awukoya from Spain. Thank you very much, Mr. Odugbeson from Sheriki Sotayo. And I know very soon the location to change because most of our lecturers don't they jackpa now. Dr. Lueba don't jackpa. And don't worry, we are still together in McPherson until when God says it's time for you to move. And I've shared the screen for our next presenter. Our next presenter will be Chun Ting Oh. I pray I pronounce it well, from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and she works with JetBrains, and she has shown an interest to be part of our webinar come next month. So please watch out for that as we close with photograph. So it's time for photograph. Mr. Shegun Gutolu from Southwestern University, you are welcome. Thank you so much. So it's time for our photograph. So if you are good to go and you know you are in a good position, this is just for reporting sake to know those people that are online. So please feel free to remove your camera so to show up your camera. I can see Mr. Okoya. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Dugbeson. Okay, it's time to go. 1, 2, 3. You smile. No, I'm still working on my camera. 1, 2, 3. Beyond. Yes, so we've taken the picture, and this is okay. Let me take it again. Some students are still joining. Okay, let me give us some few minutes. Let's take it another shot. 1, 2, 3. Beyond. So thank you very much, everyone. We want to appreciate you. We continue from here when next we meet. And if you want to join the Python community, beginner community, you are free to join. And also, I want you to look forward to Data Science Africa come July. We've been having meeting. I'm part of the local organizing committee. Also, if you want to go for Indaba, the call for proposal is out. If there's a need for you to look into that. Thank you. Bye-bye. We put an end to the meeting now.